Hello everybody, hello my ghosties and paranormal enthusiasts. I am Phantom Enchantress. If you see me on Facebook, I am known as Kelsey. So, yes, that is my actual name. I was born with it, I think. I think so. I think I was born with it, unless everything is a simulation, which it probably is. I mean, we're probably living in a simulation. We are living in a civilization, as my mouth wanted to say for some reason. I also have another channel that's called Group Fruits, and I was previously on Twitch as Ginger Babe, and I liked gaming, but not enough to make a career out of it. I was gonna make a career out of it, but after a while I was like, it's not what I'm passionate about. What I'm passionate about happens to be paranormal stuff. Anything supernatural, anything to do with spirits, demons, angels, Ouija boards, whatever. And I can also give you advice for anything that has to do with the occult as well. No, I am not a Satanist. I'm not one. That's not what I do. That's not something, so if you're curious about that, no. What I do know is, that whoever's watching this, I hope that they would be blessed with the knowledge that I'm going to present today. And please feel free to engage. If you'd like to engage, please do. And, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking a question. I feel that questions are necessary, and sometimes to reaffirm the information that is given to you, sometimes it's okay to ask people to repeat themselves. That has been a really hard thing for me, personally, because I thought I was being rude. I was like, could you say that one last time? But when it comes to paranormal investigating, sometimes you have to actually have them reaffirm. You have to have them, do the REM pod more than once, or to just kind of let you know that they're there. You don't need to get the spirits to perform for you. That's not necessary. Show me a sign. You don't have to do that, obviously. But it really helps to, as far as when you're dealing with spirits, is to really get them to reaffirm themselves. Otherwise, and that's a lot of paranormal investigating is, what was that? I didn't catch that. Huh? What? And it's not as exciting as you might think. I mean, with TV and Hollywood and all of that, they make it hyped up and make it exciting, okay? Most of paranormal investigating is just you sitting around hoping you'll get something. And some of the stuff that is given to you isn't going to make sense. It's not going to make sense to you. You're going to be like scratching your head a lot. And the reason is we don't always interpret what's being told to us all the time. That's kind of the case with a lot of things. We misinterpret the things that are told to us. So sometimes when they come back to us and give us contradicting information, it's because we didn't hear them correctly the first time. So I've made it a habit of actually asking the question more than once. And when you ask a question, wait for the response. Don't just wait 5 seconds. And so another thing I'm going to be talking about today is literally, one of the things that I really would like to get down to is what people have been saying about paranormal, what they've been saying about paranormal apps. And I'm going to say a majority of them are fake. They're scams. They are and those that are not fake or scams are entertainment, or they're randomly generated, or there's an AI that's involved. And don't bash those, because AI is actually, I work with AI. Am I a professional? No. I have this app that allows me to design AI. So, that sounds really amazing, like I can code things, but no. I'm not capable of doing that. One day, but it is not this day. It is not this day that I shall be a computer programmer. But hopefully in the future that will be possible. I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But, so when it comes down to Google and Apple Store and those kind of apps, you're going to get a lot of duds. You're going to get a lot of scams, a lot of things that just don't work. And here are some tips of why whatever you're using is probably not working. I'm going to see if I mean, how is it? Alrighty then. We've got the chat up. I can actually see it now, and I can see myself. I can see myself. It's okay. I can see myself either way because now I can see myself on my phone and on my computer at the same time. That's mind-blowing. I'm in two places at once. I come up with these ideas when I'm sober, I'm telling you. Some of my best ideas are when I'm sober. Don't try being sober. It's awful. I tried it once. It's awful. And we have a viewer. Welcome. I am Phantom Enchantress. I'm a paranormal investigator and, well, I guess an enchantress. I guess it's better than saying, I'm a witch! You know. As I said before, no, I'm not a Satanist. I don't worship Satan. I don't bring Satan into my life. If you do, that's up to you. That's your lifestyle. I'm not one to judge. Just please don't bring that around. Don't be forcing me to do it. I won't force you to do anything, and you know, don't, you know, I don't like to be aggressive, and I don't advertise in a lot of the things that I do. I do try to spread awareness and educate people about what they could do and possibly what you shouldn't do. But as I said, everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Do not think that I am telling you to do something. If I speak in absolutes, I'm sorry. What you do with your life is entirely up to you. And how you do it is entirely up to you. So I cannot dictate, I can't say, hey, this works every single time, because you may have a different experience. And you may react and respond differently to that situation. And so, going back to the paranormal type apps out there, a lot of scams, but location is important. For instance, if you're in a room that is full of electrical equipment, or your phone is right on top of an electrical outlet, or there's a power line up above you, or you're having some sort of metal that's interfering with your phone while you're using that paranormal app, you're probably not going to get a lot of good results. Another thing is to turn the data and the Wi-Fi off. The Wi-Fi, as I like to call it. The Wi-Fi and the data. Because that can really, really interfere with the spirits trying to communicate with you. And also, don't be surprised if it doesn't work the first time. Anything and everything is a tool, whether it's a Ouija board, whether it's a crystal, whether it's just a pen and paper, or whatever you're doing. It's not going to work the first time that you try it. And sometimes you have to get the feel for it. It's like riding a bike. Eventually, when you ride a bike, you're gonna fall off of it, and you're gonna scrape your knee. You're gonna go through those motions. of not feeling like you're doing very well. And eventually you'll develop what's called muscle memory. And when it comes to anything spiritual, these spirits have to get used to that app. I've had spirits that have preferences. They don't like certain apps. I will actually ask them, say, hey, do you like this app? Do you not like it? Sometimes I will set up my device and there will be nothing. I'll just set up my phone and nothing will happen. I'll just be like, well, this is discouraging, because that's the majority of paranormal investigating, is you sitting there and going, WTF? What? Why? What is... That doesn't make any sense. But I have used certain things. Some of the apps that I've used, for instance, my go-to apps are Paravox, Ovibox, and Ghost Hunting Tools, Ghost Finder, and then lastly, there's a more complicated one, which I wouldn't recommend if you are a beginner when it comes to word banks. It's called Transcendence. And these are paid apps. They don't cost a lot of money, actually. They don't, but I suppose it depends where you get it. There is Necrophone as well. I really would like to have that one without the ads. That would be great. But unfortunately, it's not compatible with my phone. And so, maybe I should go talk to the developers or something. But, as I said, using a paranormal app, you have to take in consideration, where are you? Are you in an area where there's a lot of spirits, like a graveyard, for instance? Are you in an area where when you're in an area where there's a lot of different spirits, you're gonna have, it's like having a big room with everybody who just wants to talk to you, and they're all talking over each other. So kind of what you want to do if you're in an area like that is to say, okay, I'd like you to talk one at a time. Please talk to me one at a time, all right? So that's the best thing to do, is to specify that you want, just once. One spirit at a time, please, so I know who I'm talking to. And I find that word banks work the best because they actually depict a story. And if you ever get a random, as I said, some of these things are randomly generated. There is AI out there that can duplicate what seems to be a spirit. Now, that's not a scam. If they specifically say that it's entertainment in the genre reference, otherwise when you go into the phone store, the Google store, the Apple store, whatever you're using, to download your apps, hopefully from a safe source. If it says entertainment, then that's entertainment. And unfortunately, a lot of people use these apps for like frickin' 5 seconds, and they don't understand that, oh, where were you? What were you doing? And also, another key, besides location, is your attitude. What are you bringing? How are you feeling at this time when you are using this app? Are you feeling skeptical? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling fed up? What's going on? Because spirits are very emotional. They are energy, and they communicate through emotions and energy and different sensations. And if you are not used to that kind of stimuli, it can be very overwhelming, and a lot of people take that negatively, and they freak out. And I can tell you, there have been experiences that were paranormal that freaked me out. But when I finally was able to just calm down and kind of look at the situation and realize, well, who was that? And then I finally figured out, oh, it was Amira, or it was Benny, or, you have names for these spirits, and eventually you figure out, and you're like, oh, so it was this one. And I can tell you that a lot of the time, majority of the time, spirits aren't like in the movies, okay? They're not always throwing shit. They're not doing things. They're not, leaving marks on you. Those are very extreme cases. So when you approach a paranormal situation and you expect it to be extreme, the spirits will feel that. They will feel that your apprehension. But besides knowing your emotions and being empaths naturally, they also know your intention. And I have said this before, I'm going to say it again. For instance, this is Grace. Grace is a haunted vessel. And she is inhabited by a very benevolent and angelic and heavenly being, not necessarily an angel. And her history is very interesting. She actually is a very ancient spirit and has aided the witches of old, or the magic practitioners from a long time ago. And there was a time where if you had different beliefs, you could get killed. You could be burned at the stake. And it's come to my attention that the people that know things about, nature and that kind of thing, everybody has had one. Everybody has had a wise woman, a witch doctor, a voodoo priestess, something like that. But these people have given so much wisdom to people culturally. And the kind of the medical aspect, the herbs that they would use, that these women would use, and men as well, have developed into what we know as medical science. Without witches, we would not have hospitals. We would not have a lot of these things. Now, did they invent hospitals? No, but some of the doctors and the nurses have actually, sometimes the local witch would often be your midwife. She would be the person that would help birth the babies. She would be the person that would potentially help you. And over time, witches have been demonized, when really, just to be honest, witches are just people, okay? They're just people. They don't worship Satan, they don't always worship other gods, and every single one is unique and different and has different beliefs. And if you ever see a pentagram somewhere, don't assume that it's something satanic. It actually, those 5 points actually mean earth, fire, water, obviously air and spirit. So those are all the 5 elements, meaning you are one with God and you're one with nature. So yes, I believe in God. I don't worship other gods. I only worship one. So if that's all I'm going to say about it. But other than that, she was around at that time when witches were being persecuted, and they were a coven, actually, a very benevolent coven from what I know. And that's kind of her story so far. I'd like to know more about her. But the first time that I got her, which was a couple of months ago, I just felt so drunk with happiness. I felt like I was high. I felt like I was cloud 9. I felt like a little girl again. And when I was a little girl, I had a Raggedy Ann, and I could walk down to the river. There was this creek, and there were these trees that, it was just like a ravine of trees and this creek. And what I didn't realize at the time was I actually lived in the area where Leonard Nimoy, who played freaking Spock from the original Star Trek series, lived. So I never met him, I never saw him, I never ran into him because it was kind of a secret. But he was up in one of those houses that I would walk, houses that were in the trees in that ravine. And so it just brings a lot of comfort to me, a Raggedy Ann doll does, because it reminds me of those times when I was happy and I was carefree. I was like 5 years old at the time, and it was a very good time for me. And yeah, I know that the original Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann, but you have to remember, Raggedy Ann was actually a beloved toy before Ed and Lorraine Warren came on the scene. I mean, they came on pretty late. But as I said, anything can, that's the thing about evil. It doesn't care about how innocent something is. It will use it as it sees fit. And demons normally want to use, when it comes to things to possess and inhabit, it's usually not a person. It's usually a toy or something that is an inanimate object. Why? Because we are vessels that contain our souls. Okay, they are within us. The soul is within us. Now, if something else tries to inhabit us, it's kind of like pouring too much water into a bowl, or putting a bunch of rocks in. If you've ever done that as a kid, putting rocks in a jar, it just keeps getting higher and higher, and there's just no room for a demon to be in. There's no room for, and I actually asked a demon once. I said, have you had a history of possession? And he said, yes. And I said, what's that like? And they said, it's like faking out. It is like mental illness. So even when they do inhabit us, they don't have full control. I think we really underestimate how powerful we are. And just to be honest, we're drama. We are over emotional and unpredictable. I mean, just look at the news. Just people destroying other people, threatening to destroy other people, and then we're destroying the planet. We destroy wildlife. We are destructive. And when it comes to demons, they just want to chill and relax. They don't want to have to deal with our drama. There's a reason that these demons are freaking screaming in these paranormal videos. Have you ever seen that, where there's this demon and their jaw is too long and they go, ah, and they're like really they're screaming because it's us. It's us. It's like when you're going through the desert and where there's rattlesnakes and they hear you, they want to stay away from you. Because we are essentially, we're going from one extreme to the next, and also possession takes especially if they want that person to be willingly, accepting them, or if there's like a process. They have to actually get to know us. They have to actually figure out, okay, how much information do they know about us? So that's one of the reasons demons will go to children, because children see them, they hear them, and that's just refreshing to them. But if it is for the reason to possess them, they're going to have to drain kind of the energy or get the defenses down somehow. And that is probably going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. And also, if you're somebody that knows everything about spirits and demons and all the paranormal stuff, no, they're not going to want to. That's why demons don't possess adults, because we have way too much trauma. We have way too much shit going on up here. And we are desperately trying to keep it together. And we can't. And then they're trying to inhabit us. Yeah, it's not going to be enjoyable for either of you. Now, there is something called invocation, which is literally where I do not recommend invoking demons. I don't recommend doing that. But when it comes to invocation, which is like the craft, that means you are allowing a spirit not to possess you, but to share a harmonious relationship with you. They're not taking over. They are guiding you, which is very similar to what you would do with a Ouija board. Ouija board is you are cooperating with the spirit. You're having this synonymous relationship. They move with you. So you are moving the planchette. But remember, a Ouija board is just wood. It's plastic. Doesn't have anything that's remotely magical. Yes, it can be a portal. I mean, yeah, sure, it can be a portal, but that is, I would say, for expert users. And what people don't understand, they tell me, they're like, don't play with Ouija boards. I said, I don't play with them. I work with them. I use them. Do I do it every day? No. But I know how to use them. I know what I'm doing. I can use a Ouija board to the point where the spirit can't even see me. They can only hear my voice. They don't know where my location is. They can't look around the room. They're not being invited into my house. And that's the misconception, is people think it's a game. Yes, Hasbro sells it at Walmart and every other store. Yes, but the thing is, a Ouija board is an advanced form of communication. It is for people that are confident in who they are and also confident in their abilities to communicate with spirits. They are comfortable with spiritual stimuli. They're not like going like this. That is playing around. And when someone says don't play around with Ouija boards, yes, I would have to agree with them. Don't play with them. Use them. Playing is for children. Playing is for children when you sit there in a dark room and you go, ooh, show us a sign. I recommend not asking spirits to show you a sign, because that can go so many ways. And not all of them are in good ways, you know what I mean? Like, let's say that you say, show me a sign, and it's in an area where it's so freaking active. As I said, Ouija board is very much like any device. It's a location. It's the location. I have seen people pull out Ouija boards, and these are paranormal, and these are professional paranormal investigators. They actually get paid to do that shit. And they're getting a Ouija board. I kid you not, this Hispanic paranormal investigators, and it was a man and a girl. I don't know what their names were, but they were sitting there and they were doing the Ouija session, and you could actually see physical manifestations of spirits. Like, they were there. And they thought it was a good idea to bring that out. They were actually speaking. They were talking. They had like a clothes rack, and they saw it, and they saw this horrifying apparition going, hi, and like, you called? Why are you using a Ouija board? Yeah, that's what I would be doing. If I was a demon or some sort of, weird spirit, I would be like, why are you using a Ouija board? I'm right here. You can hear me, you can see me, so at that point there's no need for a Ouija board. There's no need for that. And just really read the room. Like, are you feeling cold spots? Are you feeling apprehensive? Is there something that's tightening in your throat? Are you getting scratches? Are you, just feel the room and see if this is a good place to set up a session, and also you have to be respectful, especially when you're out and about and you go to, graveyards or that kind of thing. And recommendation, people are wondering, when should we do this? You can do a Ouija session anytime. Okay, there's not a time. I mean, some spirits may have certain full moons or something, or certain seasons that they like to communicate with you, but really it's just a matter of preference and what you think you need to do, or what the spirits have with an agreement. Also, trust is really important. When you are by yourself doing a Ouija session, I recommend having other spirits that you can trust that can set up that session. What I start off is, I will say, Amira, please, if I would like to speak to so-and-so, if this is possible, then that I can have a safe conversation with a safe channel. Remember, I said channel, not portal. Channel is just like, you're kind of tuning into things. It's a channel. it doesn't necessarily work both ways. I mean, it's kind of like Star Trek. It's like when you, number one, you know, hail them. You know, it's kind of like that. But it can be just a purely auditory experience. And unfortunately, people can't differentiate the portal from the communication device. And so when they play with it, not use it, they bring bad mojo. And also another thing is there's so many horror stories out there, and I'm going to say horror stories are not majority. Okay, extremes are not the majority. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't care if you guys get tired of it. Extremes are not the majority. Annabelle doesn't happen every day. People don't get possessed every day. People don't get scratches and all of that. And you have to remember, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they looked for extremes. They did that. That was their life. That was their livelihood. And they went out of their way to find those things. And people called them up, and they were eager to help them. I do believe that they were, yeah, I do believe, yes. Yeah, sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not, this isn't OnlyFans, so, there are places for that, so if you're naked, please go someplace else. Or, yeah, this is a paranormal life. I'm not talking about anything, sexy. Talk about Ouija boards and stuff. So, well, let's see here. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, I don't react to that kind of stuff. I mean, really, to be honest, I don't. I mean, it's one thing if you come in here and you are naked. That's up to you. I don't really care, but you don't need to announce it. If you're at home, that's your business. I don't need to know. I don't need to know, and neither does everybody else on YouTube. Yeah, so that's cool. It actually just cracks me up. I don't know. But yeah, moving right along. Wow. So, yeah. Yes, everyone is welcome. What you're wearing and what state you're in is really none of my business. You don't need to inform me about it. Okay? Okay. Also, I play with Ouija boards. Uh-huh. And I encounter lots and lots of demons, so, I'm not just a pretty face. Welcome! I am Phantom Enchantress. I'm a paranormal investigator. And Enchantress isn't just a fancy name for a gimmick. I just don't like... I don't know, there's a lot of stigma when you say something like, I'm a witch. That just kind of has that stigma. And I don't like to say that for that reason. So, but... Yet again, you can call me what you want, but... Witch! No, I'm just joking. I've been thinking, but yeah, so going back to the Ouija boards thing is, Ouija boards are, one of those things that are personal preference. You do not have to use them. I use them. No. Did I want to use them? No. In the beginning, I was like, I'm never going to use them. I'm never, ever going to. And finally, somebody kind of challenged me, and they said, why? And then I realized I didn't have a reason. I was like, but, oh, I don't have a reason. Maybe I should give it a try. Yeah. So I try to be positive, and I try to, I get a little bit miffed when people say things like never or don't ever, because that's an absolute. Your experience is going to be different because you're a different person. You may do it in a different location. You may have different spirits that you're interacting with, and one person may have a really negative experience, and if it's that anxiety ridden, I recommend just don't do it. It's entirely up to you. You should. But when you go out there and you say never do this or never do that, that's speaking in absolutes, and that's like saying, well, I did this and it was bad for me, so it's going to be bad for you, and that comes off as I'm telling you what to do with your life, and people don't like that. And I could tell people what to do with their life, but in the long run, they're not going to listen to me. They're just going to do what they want. They're going to say, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so there's really no point in me doing that. And if I have absolutes, if I'm speaking in absolutes, please correct me. I'm sorry. I'm not a perfect person. I am human. I don't do things perfectly every time. But, yeah, going back to what we were originally talking about was apps that I've used. And I can tell you, when it comes to paranormal apps, yes, they do work. Some of them actually do work. But it takes a little bit of experimentation. It takes good attitude, a good location, no metals, no, obviously, there's certain metals that'll be fine, but get away from power lines, power outlets, anything that gives off a lot of electromagnetic waves. So like TVs and my TVs and electrical appliances, because those will interfere and with a spirit that is trying to talk to you, essentially. So do keep that in mind. And also, it's not going to work the first time. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the better it's going to be. And also, as I said before, spirits are very emotional and can feel your emotions and your intentions. And if they feel, a lot of people are not really aware of their energy when they go into a building or that kind of thing, or when they go into an area that's haunted. They're not aware of their own energy. They may feel fear, but they don't know the real, like for instance, when you come into a room, what are your first feelings? I mean, are you feeling anxious? Or when you put your hand on the planchette or whatever, what are your emotions? And fun tip, if you're going to do paranormal investigating, use a Ouija board or anything like that, make sure that you're in a good state of mind. Because as spirits can't really, they're telepathic, but not in the sense that they can read your mind. They can send messages to your mind and into your dreams, but they don't know what you're thinking. And so it's important to communicate, to be honest, to set boundaries. I would recommend not being aggressive, but to be assertive. Assertive means you're firmly saying, very matter-of-factly, I've done this with spirits. There was a spirit that was very aggressive. It actually smacked me. There was no permanent marks or anything. I just remember feeling like it was this very kind of, it was almost like wind was touching my face. It was like this, it felt like that. And I said, I don't care who you are or what you are. You do not touch me. And I made it very clear that I was serious. And I said, I don't care who you are or what you are, but nobody touches my face. And immediately I look down at my phone and there's like a little, little radar, and it disappears. It disappears. After that, that particular spirit had respect for me because I set boundaries immediately. Some spirits, this doesn't work with every spirit. As I said, every spirit is unique. But if you set boundaries and you say, hey, I do not want this to happen, or I am here to learn. So when I go into an area, I will say, I'm here to learn. I'm a paranormal investigator. I just want to learn. I want to tell your story. Please talk one at a time. I'm not here to violate your sacred space here. If you want me to go, I will go. And I can tell you, after a couple minutes, usually they get very comfortable with me. They get very comfortable with me. They start laughing at my jokes. They start kind of, and then they will say, okay, you can get closer. And yes, they'll be a little bit shy, and that it's not so much shy, it's just that they don't know who you are. It's like meeting someone for the first time. After a while, you get used to their energy and you get used to their face, and they will come to you. It's that simple. But whenever you hear something or see something or whatever, I understand that when in the heat of the moment, it's understandable to overreact. But best thing, if you hear something that is just, that is frightening to you, you can always walk away. That's always an option. And or you could say specifically, you could say, you know what, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. And spirits really appreciate the fact that you're being honest with them, that you're being sincere, that you're explaining what's going on, and rather than, just sitting there and going, they enjoy that. But as I said, that's not something. What I did, kind of establishing. I didn't really establish dominance. Establishing dominance. That wasn't exactly what I did, but I kind of, did establish dominance in a way. But that doesn't work with every spirit. Some spirits, if you do that, if you are assertive, they will take that as a challenge. And if they can't get to you, they'll get to anybody else that is in your circle of friends or your family, or sometimes household pets as well. I have seen situations where spirits have actually hurt animals, and that is very disturbing to me. Also, be careful of the spirits that you allow into your home. I have heard situations where they start off kind of, they'll start off, real mellow, and then things will start happening. But that's not every case. There is always an exception when it comes to paranormal investigating. When it comes to life, there are no absolutes. There are no, oh, this works every time, 100% of the time. There's always an exception. There's always something that could happen, that's unpredictable. Sometimes when I'm doing a session with my phone, somebody else will appear, and I'll be talking. I'll be, I want to talk to Mabel today, and then all of a sudden, I am Banks. I'm like, that's kind of rude, but okay. Sometimes they get so excited because they realize this is somebody that can communicate with them, somebody that is actually seeing them and hearing them and taking the time to get to know them. And when they feel that, your enthusiasm, they can feel that. They feel your intentions. So if I ever have, a little haunted vessel here, this is Benny. He's also a very benevolent spirit. And let's say you drop one. You stumbled, you fell, and it went flying. Immediately what I do is I apologize. I say, I'm really sorry, and then, but they know, but as soon as they feel, your guilt and feel your sympathy, they immediately will say, I'm fine. I'm fine. But it's not so much that they feel your guilt, it's because they know that you did not intend to do something to harm them. They know that you weren't being disrespectful, because they know your intent. They know your intention. They can feel it. And they also, I've also had spirits say that they see things on a molecular level. So that means that they see atoms, and they see, they can see your skeletal form. They can see your organs as we know it. They understand how your body functions, and they can tell if something is wrong. I have not tested that yet, and I don't really care to. I mean, I don't really feel like asking a spirit, hey, do I have liver disease? And another thing is, demons are not the only ones that can deceive you, okay? There are a lot of other spirits out there that can harm you that are not demons. But are demonic. And also, I've had angels come to me, and I will ask them, hey, you didn't tell me, this contradiction happened. Why didn't you tell me? The first thing they will say is, well, you didn't ask. And also, that wasn't your truth. If we had told you our truth, or my truth, you wouldn't have believed me. You wouldn't have believed us. And you are not ready for that information. So to us, that's lying. But they live in another plane of existence. They don't have the same time. They don't have... everything is different. Essentially, everything in their realm is quite different. And we can't even comprehend what they are, or where they are, or who they are. It's just... It's mind-boggling for us. And sometimes, to protect us, they will keep things from us. Sometimes they will appear to us as something that we can connect with. They are really good at mimicking voices and faces, and they can come into your dreams and appear as somebody that you loved, maybe someone that passed away. I'm not saying that you're not communicating with your lost loved ones, but it's always a possibility that it may be a spirit that was very close to that loved one, or is very close to you. And the way spirits kind of function is, when they spend enough time with a person, they emulate them. They almost become them. They embody them. They manifest into them. They will know all their idiosyncrasies, their inflection, their way, their mannerisms, their decorum, everything about that person. And it's almost like they are that person in a way. And so I can tell you, communicating with spirits like that is not a bad thing. That means that that is a spirit that not only cares about the person that has passed on, but cares about you enough to communicate with you. And you have to think, if a spirit wants to communicate with you and has communicated with you, whether it's on a device. I've heard of people actually getting, I've actually seen people where they will get, you know those little Fisher Price phones, like in, has a face on it, little eyes, and I've heard of people actually picking up the phone and hearing a lost loved one. That doesn't happen every day, and that is, to me, is very magical, because it seems to be like some spirit out there wants to communicate with you so badly that they're willing to literally defy science and logic just for you. Think of that. You could be disturbed by it, or you could be flattered. You could think, wow, this spirit wants to communicate with me and wants to be with me and is appearing to me in a form that they know that I will connect with, that they know that I'm going to relate with. And I've had spirits, angels, even appear to me in different forms. I because they know that I like enjoy a certain thing. And so sometimes I have this app. It's a TV static app, so it's like you see these little lines in the gray and white, and it will take kind of silhouettes of the spirit, and I can tell you, I have seen things that, and it works either way, whether the data is on or the internet is on or off, it works just the same. And I have seen things that are like important to me. Like, one actually looked like somebody I knew. Then there was one that looked like Odo. There was one that even looked like Daniel Jackson from Stargate. I was just like, yeah, this stuff is real. It's real. One time I encountered what I believe to be a gray pit bull while I was on a walk, and then I came back home, and I took a picture, and sure enough, there was a silhouette of a dog, and I realized this is real. I'm not just crazy. This is actually happening. And recently, there was a person on Facebook that was having trouble with what they believe to be a hat man. So a hat man is something that's very fictionalized. It really took off on TikTok. From what I can see, it's a very creepypasta type thing. It's very internet circulated. Obviously, probably something that's on a lot of threads and on Reddit especially. Which I do not get my information from. I know there's people that do, and that's great, but I choose not to get my information from Reddit because it's full of desperate people, it's full of lies, it's full of he said, she said, it's the whole... That's what happens with threads, somebody's making a comment of another comment, and then it just keeps going on and on and on. And that's not a place you want to get your information from, because those are just people. You might as well just go to Wikipedia at that point. But, the Hat Man is a paralysis demon. And a lot of people, sometimes this is just a subconscious thing. We will see things when we are, like, sleep paralysis is a thing. It's not anything remotely demonic, usually. Like, we will see things and hear things, and sometimes it is caused by a demon, but I don't think that's the case every time. But there's been, I guess, a couple people, and I don't know how true this is, that have seen a shadow with a hat and red eyes. And I don't really fully believe that he exists. I believe that that it's purely an internet story. But if somebody says that they've seen that, I will believe that. I will believe that. And this person on Facebook said that a friend of his had a niece. She was still, going through school, and she was being stalked by a hat man, and it was becoming a problem. And I said to you, I don't think this really is a hat man. I really think that this is a demon that is appearing to her as that, because he knows that it's terrifying to her. So, how spirits will come to you in a form that you will connect with. Sometimes they will come in a form that they know is going to frickin' terrify you. So that was the case with this. And immediately I got this name. I just got this name. It popped up in my head. And I immediately did something I had never done before. I got my Ouija board out. I put obsidian and selenite, one on this side, the other on the other. And I was told, by my spirits, don't worry, I was told to knock 3 times. I've never done this before with a Ouija board, but I trusted my spirits enough to do that. So I did that, and I heard a knock. 3 knocks come back. And so when I did that, I asked my spirits, I said, I do not want this, because I knew that this was a really bad entity. And I said, I don't want this entity to know where I am. I don't want them to see me. I don't want them to see where I am. So I made it to where it was a purely auditory communication. And the first thing that he says on the planchette was, I can't see you and I can't hear you. I can't see you and I don't know where you are, but I can hear you. And I was like, okay, what is your purpose for following this young lady? And he said, possession. And I was like, what? So I called upon the angels of old, the angels that had guarded the Garden of Eden with flames of fire. That was actually something that was, I think that was written in the Bible. Maybe? I don't know. I think so. Don't worry, I'm really well versed with the Bible. It's just I don't remember everything. You know, it's like reading Harry Potter. I don't remember everything that I read there either. You know, don't remember everything. I didn't have a photographic memory, or photogenic, or whatever it is. You know, where I just retain everything. So yeah. But anyway, I did that, and I said, please, please, you know, get rid of this. And they did. They literally gave him an ultimatum. You said, you leave within 3 days, or we will make this impossible for you. We're not only going to protect her, but we're going to make it impossible for you to even inhabit her at any time. And they literally, at first he was like, no. He says, you don't understand. If you're not gone, you're going to be banished. Banished meaning they can't get back to this reality. They can't interact with us. They can't do anything. They can't communicate. They're gone. They're gone. Bye-bye. They're out of the picture now. And, you know, at first he wasn't intimidated. He says, you know, we're going to protect her. And even if we don't protect her, she will not be a viable vessel for you. And he was like, okay, yeah, I think he realized that there was nothing there for him. Whatever process he was going through, it wasn't working, and it was going to be too much effort anyway. So he realized that whatever agenda he had was finished. It was pointless at that point. And then I get a text back from this woman saying, yeah, she hasn't heard back. She hasn't seen or heard from this hat man for 2 days. I had just done that Ouija session. I had just done that ritual. I had just done it. And it was gone. I was just like, I felt like I just felt like I went for the ride. You know what I mean? I know that I you know, helped with that. I just feel like I helped. I really didn't. You know, I didn't leave the house. I didn't do anything. I did this purely when I was just sitting in my room. And it was, wow, it was just amazing. I was just blown away when I realized that the things that I'm doing actually do make a difference, and they really do. And I also realized that these spirits obviously work in a different time frame as well. You know, different time zone possibly. Maybe they don't even have time, for all I know. And so those spirits must have already been in the process of doing that. And they were just waiting for me to hop in, I guess. I don't know. I really don't. Like, it boggles me to this day. Like, I can't wrap my head around it, because I'm thinking to myself, like, did I do this? No, I didn't do this. But I did. But I wasn't really the one that did it. It's like, I'm involved, but... And yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, I was kind of I guess I just felt like a supporting role, really, to be honest. But then I also felt that I had made a difference, and that I literally saved a little girl's life. This girl could have been harmed. This could have been a very bad situation. And they were so grateful to me. They were so grateful that I had done this, and I was just like, you know, I'm glad it worked. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but cool. Yeah, so that should tell you some of my, I might toot my horn sometimes, but when it comes to things like that, you can't take credit for it. Like, I realize, yeah, I could have been in a bad situation, but I made it to where I was safe, and I made it so that she was safe too. So, and I keep checking in with her to see if that's going on, is she okay? Is that young girl okay? And she is. She's fine. And that demon's isn't bothering her anymore. So, I think I may have found my calling. I don't know. And, I could be like that woman in Poltergeist. I could be like, this house is clean. I could do that. I definitely would see myself that. But I also see myself as that woman who's, in The Princess Frog, that's French kissing her snake in a hut somewhere. I could definitely see myself as that. I could see myself. I don't know about the French kissing part, but I definitely would kiss. If I had snakes, I definitely would kiss them. I want to get a snake, but my family won't allow it, and it's kind of too much responsibility anyway. It's a constant thing. Yeah, I would like a snake, but yeah, it got me a little, I was a little bit cautious when it came to snakes, but snakes to me are kind of like spiders. Yes, they creep me out. Do I want them crawling or slithering all over me? No, I don't. But I have a healthy respect for them. I realize that they have every right to take up space, but when it comes to a spider being on my bed, they cannot take up that space. No. Although lately I've been having awareness whenever I see a spider, I usually just point it out and go, spider. And then somebody else kills it. I can't believe it. There was actually, this is hilarious. This is actually really funny. I saw this on Etsy, and somebody is selling a tarantula. I'm like, is it alive? No, it's not alive. I think they've been, humanely preserved or something. Kind of how they preserve butterflies and other beetles and things like that. It's in good condition, but I don't think I could buy that. I'm just saying that the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to beat the shit out of it. I'm just going to be, oh, I bought it. It's the same thing if I were to get, like, a spider necklace or a spider ring. I would look at it, and immediately when I see that, it's a spider, okay? It's instinctual for me. I have heard of people that are like, green and stuff, green witchery kind of stuff. Oh, I get the spider and I let it out into the wild. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's cool for you. But no, I don't need to do that. But unfortunately, like with Etsy, when it comes to like enchanted or haunted stuff, it's very, very expensive. And it's not just that. Yeah, it can be. Also, I prefer to buy my haunted vessels on eBay because eBay actually has descriptions, and they're actually sold by either magic practitioners or paranormal investigators, otherwise people that are involved with spiritual stuff and magic and all that, and they're involved with that. So I would trust that over somebody else. There are other people. I'm astounded, actually. For instance, this guy was from eBay. I can tell you the moment I got him in the mail. There's actually a story to this. So this is Thrifty. Thrifty is very, very active. Active as in You put anything that is anything around him. I've used all the paranormal apps on my phone, and it was just constant. It was just like the graph meters kept going up and down, up and down. It was just phenomenal. And he has created cold spots. I've had biting sensations. I have had a lot of interesting things happen. But what was interesting was the person that owned him didn't really understand about spirits or anything paranormal, and they had given him as a gift to their son. I don't know what it is that they think, oh, here, have a clown, son. I'm like, why would that be a good thing? I mean, it's one thing if they're really interested in clowns, or they're going to clown school, or they have no, but it astounds me that she would do that. So she gave this clown to her son, and things were moving. It was in different positions. He would be in a different position, and it was not a good situation. And he also was giving nightmares to the seller's son. He was like 22. Apparently he was 22 years old, and I don't know why you would want to give this to a 22-year-old, to your 22-year-old son. I mean, like, why would you do that? That is so bizarre. That's like, oh yeah, let's, like, that is bizarre that you would do that, really, to be honest. So, I reassured, but I actually made contact with the seller, and I said something like, I are you, I didn't get any updates, is it still on its way? And they said something like, oh yeah, I'll send it first thing. And then it dawned on me, it's the weekend. So it says, yeah, as soon as Monday, come Monday, I'll send it. And they had already put it in a box. That's how haunted it was. And immediately, I, like, just when I saw his face on eBay, I just said, ooh, that's interesting, but I don't want to get another clown. Nobody likes clowns in the house. I love clowns, but that's just me. And I want to be respectful of everybody in the home. And immediately the first word that came to me was thrifty. It was thrifty. And I was like, thrifty? Huh? Thrifty. Okay, that's cool. It's a cool name. And so I communicated with him on via Ouija board and within the safe. And I do this regularly because I want my haunted, the spirits that are inhabited by these vessels to know that they're going to a safe home, and it makes them a little less apprehensive, because as soon as I open anything, there's always this apprehension because coming from them, because they don't know where they are. They've been shipped out. They don't really know where they are. Sometimes they'll know my name. I mean, it's really no biggie for them to manipulate technology. It's not a big deal. They can do it anytime. So you just need to give them a little bit to adjust to the technology, and eventually they will. But it's not a challenge for them. It just takes some getting used to. And so immediately I brought him home. I gave him some gifts. And I had him choose. It. I lit a candle for him to kind of, and I told him, my home is your home, my family is your family, and my friends are your friends. You are allowed to do anything that you would like. Phenomena, any kind of phenomena, flicker the lights, do whatever you want, but please do not harm anyone in this household. please no nightmares, and if possible, yeah, don't physically harm anyone. And when you bring a haunted vessel into your home, and you it's important to kind of bring them, introduce them to the family. Let them know that, show them to your friends. Make sure that you say, this is my friend, this is so and so, this is whatever, just so that they have a sense of belonging. And when they have a sense of belonging, and you're telling them that your family is their family, immediately what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, I'm going to protect it. And it doesn't matter if it's an angel, a demon, an animal, dead, alive, whatever spirit it is, they will respect that. If they don't, then yeah, that's a problem. And you should probably give it to someone that understands those things. But a lot of the times with spirits is, they like certain people also. They have preferences. And he did not like the previous owners. He told me what he thought about that 22-year-old that he was giving nightmares to. He said that it was a desperate attempt to communicate. They were leaving him alone for long periods of time. They were not engaging with him. And this is a toy. This is a plushie. You're supposed to squeeze it. You're supposed to do things with it. You're not supposed to just throw it and put it on a shelf somewhere. That's understandable when it comes to like porcelain. When you have a porcelain, you might not want people touching it because it's fragile, right? And then of course there's Annabelle, but that's a very extreme case. Not all I can tell you a majority of people that have haunted vessels are having very good experiences. It's just you have to know where to look. I was really surprised when I saw on TikTok somebody had all their haunted dolls set up and they were communicating with them, and it was really positive. But me at the time, I was not in a good state of mind, and I wasn't doing the paranormal investigating at that time. I was scared of everything still, and when I saw that, I was horrified. I saw it, I took it very negatively. I had a panic attack afterwards. Literally, I was like, ah! But I have changed. My viewpoints have changed. I am more mature. I'm more well-grounded now. I face my fears, and I greet all my demons, and I wave at them and say, hi, how you doing? I have really developed as a person. I am not that person anymore. But this woman was having a positive experiences with her haunted dolls, and she was laughing, and I couldn't comprehend that at that time because my headspace wasn't right. I saw it as negative, and I totally understand it when people come to me and they're like, oh, you should burn this. I don't burn money. I spent money on this. I spent the money. I don't get a glob of money and put it in a pit and set it on fire. Elon Musk might do that to appease the money gods, but I do not. I don't know if he does that, but that's been my new joke, so I'm going with it. Yeah, I actually value money because I'm poor. And yeah. I actually am careful with money. It's as amazing as I may be. But yeah, as soon as I brought him home, I can tell you, no nightmares. No nightmares. Because the thing is, if he was to appear in my dreams, I've had numerous dreams about clowns. Pennywise was the main one, but I can tell you that's usually a good dream for me. That's usually a nice dream. I'm just like, that was interesting. Yeah, that was cool. So I immediately told him, I said, if you're going to try to give me nightmares about a clown, that's going to be a good dream for me. That's going to be absolute bliss. So please don't do that. But I've experienced it. He will, he's very vocal. So when he wants something, he will say it. He will vocalize it. And he will say, can other people hear him? Not necessarily. But he is telepathic. He can send images to your head. I have heard that song. That whenever Pennywise comes in, he goes, I will hear that pop into my head sometimes, and usually I'll be like, oh, are you coming down the hall? I was like, are you coming down the hall? One time I went to bed, and I went like this, and I kid you not, I saw, now, this is kind of how it works. I can hear things and see things subconsciously, which means subconscious is literally, it's the space between reality and your imagination. Your imagination is very close to what your subconscious is, but it's literally where I can actually hear them. I can see them, but I know what's reality. It's not like a schizophrenic episode where I'm like, oh, is that over? I'm not doing mushrooms, even though I should. I'm kidding. But yeah, there's definitely that. So I know, and a lot of people, the way they take this, kids actually have this ability to subconsciously and sometimes even to see and hear spirits, but because of trauma and discouragement, religion, politics, all this bullshit that comes at us in life that kind of suppresses that. Also, we don't want to be seen as crazy. I remember I heard things and saw things, and I didn't tell anybody because I thought they were going to say that I was crazy. Or they would say, oh, you just have an overactive imagination. Or, you might need some help for that. I'm like, I don't need any help. But you can see this when it's actually a phenomenon. There are children that will actually, they have what are known as imaginary friends. And I think to a certain extent, these imaginary friends may be spirits or angels maybe, because there's been a lot of children that have come forward and said that, who are you talking to? And they'll say Rahel or Maneko or Chekhov, just these really complicated names that pretty much have all the words in the alphabet. They don't even know how to read, and they are saying these names, and they have drawings of them. It's astounding, and spirits like that. They like that that you're not afraid to talk to them, that they speak with them, they spend time with them, they're fun, and children are great because they have a lot of energy also, so they have all this time to spend. But just imagine you have a toy like this, and that child grows up leaving this spirit very lonely and very, they get thrown away, they get ignored, and I can tell you, abandonment, there's a lot of anger attached to it. Spirits do have, it's not trauma so much, but they do experience emotions very, very deeply. They make deep connections with people, and I cannot imagine, I cannot imagine, no, I can. I know what it feels like to be left alone for long periods of time. I understand that. It is a devastating predicament, and they've actually found out, they've been doing some studies on people that have experienced loneliness, is that it is so dangerous for your health. You need to socialize with people, even if it's just the people in your home. Isolation is good for certain periods of time. I mean, it's great to be by yourself and have your own company and all that. but it's important to socialize as well. It doesn't have to be on a large scale, but they found out that people who experience long periods of loneliness have a lot of health issues. They say that it may even be, this is maybe just a theory, take this with a grain of salt, but they say that it may be as dangerous as somebody smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. It disrupts your sleep. Because of the stress and the depression and just the fact that your needs, your emotional and mental needs are not being met when you are alone. I know it's addicting to be lost in your own world, to play games, and we need that. We need that time. We need the me time. But when it's every single day, it's just like days just fuse into one another. There's no, you just feel hopeless, you feel lost, you feel angry, and you feel like no one is seeing you or hearing you. And that is the equivalent of probably, it's not the equivalent, it's probably even more so for a spirit that is inhabiting a toy, because they've been engaged with, they've been played with, and then all of a sudden nothing. That is heartbreaking. That is absolutely heartbreaking that you know, they were so close to this child. They were actually getting comfortable too. And I'm saying this, of course, you know, he's a demon, but still, most spirits choose to be in a vessel. They can move around at any time. They don't have restrictions. It's not like Annabelle, where they've been, it's like, Jennifer Tilly with a book and a pentagram and trying to bind a spirit to a vessel. That doesn't happen all that often. That's it, like very special cases. You can bind a spirit to a vessel. It's really not that hard to do. I mean, if you already have spirits around and you have a vessel that's not a doll or something around, that's not that hard to do. But like, if you were to bind it to where it couldn't get out, yeah, that's another reason that you shouldn't burn vessels, because when you do that, you're letting it out. You're just letting it out. You're just going, hey, there they go. You destroyed the lamp, so the genie's out now. Good job. So, that's kind of the equivalent of that. But I think, if you're gonna get, another thing, this is kind of just a theory that I've been working with, is that I think that if you get any spirit and you disrespect it and leave it alone and you don't spend time with it, and it's actually like a toy that you're supposed to play with, and let's say for instance, we'll get here. Here's Rosa. Rosa was the spirit of I believe a black lab and I'm gonna say, was it a Saint Bernard? I think it was a Saint Bernard. Oh no, Great Dane. It was a Great Dane. So it was a Great Dane and a black lab, which would be a huge dog, by the way. That would be huge. But I love big dogs anyway. So she actually, Rosa actually came with. She's a companion for one of my very few porcelain pieces that I have here. I don't like porcelain because of the fact that you can't really touch it, and it gives me a lot of anxiety because I am not coordinated enough. I don't have huge cabinets all over the place. I don't want to be that person that has dolls in cabinets all over the place. I don't want it to be me. And then so, and she has a box and everything, and they were together. They came together. And she was abandoned, believe it or not. She was abandoned, and she gives off very overwhelming vibes. She's very powerful. But when I finally spoke with her, she's a very benevolent spirit. But besides that, if I were to do something, if I were to, you know, abandon this little girl here, if I were to just throw it and just put her in a room, nobody goes in there, just leave her there, and I do that, and I'm not worried about her feelings. I'm not worried about what her story is. I'm not worried about anything. I'm a selfish human being, and I don't care, you know. And eventually, it'll be fine for a couple of days. But when you constantly disrespect anyone, I'm gonna say and you constantly do that, there's gonna be only so much that they can take. There's only so much disrespect and loneliness someone can take. And eventually, they can get violent. They can get aggressive. They can get angry. Because you're not listening to them. You're not hearing them. You're not there. You're not engaging with them. You're not talking to them. You're not saying, oh, sorry. Oh, what do you need? What is it that you need? Really? And everybody that I've seen just freaks out and they get disturbed, which is understandable because it's something that they're not familiar with. It's natural for us to fear what we don't understand. But once we get to the point where we can understand them and we actually address it, there have been several demons that have been in my home. And I didn't want to address them at first because I was just like, it's at the end of the day, I'm tired, and then, I look at the bathroom and there's the long fingers too that are doing that, and I'm like, I'm gonna pretend that I didn't see that. I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna go, and I wouldn't address it. I was scared, and every time I passed there, the fear would build and build and build, and that entity wasn't going away. Eventually, I just went, hi. Ever since, we've been friends. I don't have a problem with her anymore. She's like a shadow demon. Essentially, she looks like the girl from The Ring, and I actually like those. I like the Japanese version. I don't like the American version, but I've seen, and when I see that, it really doesn't scare me. It doesn't. So if she wants to look like that, then she can. Also, another thing, the girl that played Lilo in Lilo and Stitch actually did play the girl from the well in The Ring. That is her. She's actually a very beautiful young lady, and that's very interesting that was her though. But but the thing is, you take anybody, like for instance me, I'd like to think I'm a good person. I strive to be a good person. I try not to compromise my happiness in the process, or my sanity. But eventually, when people disrespect me consistently, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna stop respecting that person. I'm going to take my respect, and I will respect you from over here. Like a good neighbor, stay over there. Okay? Alright. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. And then, or I will get angry, and when you constrict all of your frustration, eventually it simmers and it turns into anger, and that anger, it can only stay in there so long, and if you don't have putting it in outlets, because some people have outlets, that's why they never get angry, because they have outlets that they put their frustration into, so it doesn't develop into anger, or it doesn't develop into depression. You do that, it's just going to explode. And so a lot of times with spirits, it'll be very explosive. The energy will be explosive. They'll start throwing things and doing that. But if you're in a situation and there's a lot of activity, paranormal activity, what you can do is you can say, okay, I see you, I hear you. You don't have to necessarily see them or hear them, but if you see things flying across the room, yeah, definitely you can see something is going on. So you just say, I see you, I hear you, and I would like to know your story. And when you're ready, I will be here. Just tell me, what is it that you need? Now, if they say things like, I would like more souls or blood, then probably not. You don't want to negotiate with that. And that's a time to get your pastor, your priest, your voodoo priestess, your witch doctor, your spiritual guru, somebody that's spiritually inclined, your local witch, somebody that knows, that you trust to be in your home, that knows about these things, that can communicate with them, because not everybody can see and hear things, not everybody's interested in paranormal stuff. That's fine. So it's kind of important to just to get somebody that knows that is comfortable with that area of expertise, and so any sort of spiritual leader or spiritual consultant that you can go to, preferably someone you trust. That's the time to do that. Another thing is, sage doesn't solve every problem. It does not. I didn't know this when I first started using sage, and it was hilarious. I had my jewelry and I wanted to cleanse it, and I wanted to cleanse and bless it and do that and put all the good energy in there. So, but I did that, and I kid you not, for 2 hours I lit sage, and I did that, and then somebody, I think my mom told me, they said, were you burning sage? And I said, yeah. It was really strong. I was like, yeah. It says, you're not supposed to, you're only supposed to, sage every week to every month. And I was like, really? Yeah. Because do you know what you're doing when you light sage? And I said, no. You're taking the oxygen out of the air. It's like, oh. Okay. And I no longer burn sage. I burn incense now, because sage is just not. I thought that would be a good idea. I had a cauldron. It was an iron cast cauldron, no Teflon. It was really nice. I got it from Amazon, and I thought, oh, that'll be nice for my witchy supplies. I'll get a cauldron. And cauldrons if you're not familiar with magic, cauldrons are for, they're not so much for putting on the stove. They're more for mixing things, or maybe there's something that you would like to get rid of in your life. Let's say there's some habit that you don't want. You would put it on a piece of paper and burn it, and then cover the top and do that. But I would recommend doing that outside if possible. And when there isn't a burn ban, and someplace where, in an area where that's not going to cause a forest fire. But I put it in the cauldron. Okay, I put it in the cauldron. I did this, and this was sage that I had just picked that day. Well, I had picked it a couple of days ago, and it had dried out. So I was like, yay, it's nicely dried out. I put it in the window, and I put it there, and I lit it, and there was this flame that and I was trying to blow it out, and then finally, as soon as it did, it went I grabbed my heart off of wherever it had landed and put it back in my mouth, and then it went back down to where it was supposed to be, because because my heart had literally come out of my mouth and popped out. I mean, literally, like that. Not literally, but yeah. So I did that, and and then the fire alarms went off. So that was great. I had to inform everybody. I was like, it's not a fire. Thankfully, it was just, yeah. I just had to inform my family about it, and I agreed. I said, I'm not burning sage anymore in the house. So, for that reason, I don't feel like setting the fire alarms off. I know that some of you may set the fire alarms to know if your food is done. That's fine. But I don't recommend, if you value, if you're not, that's the thing. There are little cones of sage that you can burn as well. There's Palo Santo that are a lot better, so I don't recommend using those. The raw sage, just, if you are in a situation where you have incense or that kind of thing, make sure that you have some sand or an incense or something that you can put it out immediately, so that you do not set fire to yourself, to your home, or set off all the fire alarms, or have the actual fire department coming to your house, which hasn't happened. Thank goodness. That has not happened yet. Yeah, that may be, a situation. Sometimes the fire alarms also in places will actually have a fail-safe where they will actually, the fire department will come if the fire alarm goes so many times, so many minutes, eventually it will inform the fire department and they will come. So that's another thing you might want to avoid. As I said, be responsible when dealing with anything that's flammable. Be safe about it, and think about the people that are around you and the laws that you must abide by. I have not set fire to anything, thank goodness. But it's not the first time that I've set off a fire alarm. I used to do that consistently, actually. I used to set up fire alarms. That's how I knew that my food was done. Normally. That's how I know. Oh, food's done! Yeah. That's great. Now I have better methods. I actually have my phone and a timer, and yeah. Now I actually have timers that I can set off, or and we have ovens that have timers as well, so that really helps. That helps too. But I'm actually not a bad cook. Actually, I don't like cooking in general. I just want to grab something and go. I want to grab it and go. I don't want to have to deal with cooking. So I'm not a kitchen witch. There are people that are just magical because they have this ability to like fix something, and people just feel good. It's just something that happens. It's like when you eat something, there's just this sensation of, like macaroni and cheese or that kind of thing. It feels good. And so when you're in that situation, yeah, it's definitely the person that fixes it. And that's what you would call a kitchen witch. Somebody that just infuses all of, how mom or grandma makes these cookies and they're the best. It's because they made them and they make it special and they infuse their good intentions into that. And some of us do that without even knowing it, Love is magic. It is a very powerful magic, and when you put that goodness into food, people can taste it. People have good memories because of that, because they made that for you, or the memory of that is very special. So don't underestimate intention, because intention is very powerful. Intention can make or break a situation, can make or break you. And intention is very much how spirits work also, and they know your intention. They know when you're being disrespectful or that kind of thing. They know when you're joking. It's not like one of those things that's why dogs and animals understand us at an emotional level, but we have to understand that animals may connect with us emotionally, but as far as mentally and logically and morally, they don't. So when you have a spirit that tells you one thing and then tells you another, just keep in mind that you may have misinterpreted the information that was given to you. They may have been trying to protect you. They may not have been comfortable with telling you. Sometimes when you ask for a story, they will give you a true story, but it won't be necessarily their story, because maybe their story is just too complicated, or you just can't comprehend it. And maybe they know that you're just not ready for that information, and you may reject the information that's being given to you. So don't think that it's necessarily malicious just because a spirit is. Remember, a spirit isn't physical. They're not physical beings, so they have to be in a form that you can communicate with. They have to. I mean, take Stargate. You know, the ascended beings in Stargate Atlantis, how they were ascended and they were just light and energy. Think of it that way. They don't have a form. They have to come up with a form that is going to resonate with us. So they're not being deceptive. They're not so much like, oh yes, I'm going to transform into a beautiful woman and then I will deceive her. It's not like that. It's more of just like, I want to appear as your long lost grandmother because I love you and I care for you and I want to protect you and I protected your grandmother, so I'm going to protect you. And that's what they do. So angels and demons don't necessarily have forms that we I was under the impression that they did have forms, but I think their forms are probably only known to the other spirits, perhaps. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I'm all wrong. Maybe all of this is wrong. Maybe everything's a simulation. I don't know. But either way, it's the only thing that you need when it comes to spirits is to have an open mind, be skeptical, of course, but also find a balance between the two. There is a science in paranormal, but there's also a faith and a belief system. You need to believe that things are going to happen. I have seen people that will get Ouija boards and things like that and nothing happens because they're not believers. They don't believe. They don't need, maybe they don't need a paranormal experience. Maybe they don't want to have one, they're not spiritually inclined. Everybody has their niche and their gifts and their areas of expertise, so not everybody's going to want to do that. Some people are going to just want, they might want to do something else. They might want to play with cars or I don't know. Maybe they have jobs and things they have to worry about. Jobs. They're very troublesome, but I've heard about them. They give you money. Yes. That's the only good thing about it, is they give you money. Yes. So, there's that. But, besides that, this has been a really good live. I really would like to, of course, show all of my haunted vessels, which I was going to. But, as you know, this is not one of those things where I have a PowerPoint in front of me or cue cards or somebody saying, hey, say this. No, I don't script anything. So, thanks to ADHD, I'm all over the place. My saying is always, yeah, I meant to do that, but then ADHD happened. I actually have a sweater that says ADHD. Highway to a highway to it says ADHD, and it's like AC/DC. You know, it looks like that font from AC/DC. It says highway to, hey, there's another squirrel. And this is something that's sold on Temu. So if you have that, I've had other people that have worn it. It's bright neon. Yeah, it's awesome, and I love it. But it's summer right now, so I don't really have any need for the coats and the things, you know. It gets all sweaty. I didn't want to do that. So, but thank you all for coming and joining this. I will probably be informing people of my lives on Facebook and such. Hopefully, I actually got quite a few people. Somebody that was confused. I think they must have gotten really high and gotten on YouTube and thought it was OnlyFans or something. Like, I'm naked. I don't need to know about that. You're not my boyfriend. If you were my boyfriend, that would be cool, but you should probably be texting me that. You shouldn't be doing that in the chat. That would be weird. Wouldn't that be weird if that would be so inappropriate, actually. If you had like a boyfriend that did that, that said, I'm naked right now. Okay, yeah. If there's anybody, they should be texting you. They shouldn't be putting that in the chat. Oh well. I actually, just to be honest, I deleted his comments. I deleted his comments because, I don't want other people coming in and seeing that and going, what? That would be. But I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed day. Thank you so much for joining, and I will be coming live hopefully soon. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe the next day. I don't know. Whatever the wind takes me, I shall go. And I hope you are blessed and have a magical day. And I feel, you know, if you have a story that you'd like to tell, please feel free to you know, hey, if you want to write a novel in the chat, that's cool. You know, I write novels in the chat all the time, so if you want to do that, you can. And tell me your story, and I will read it. And because I really like listening to people's stories, so